and I'm 35 years old. I work as a freelance writer, spending most of my days at home, surrounded by books and the soft sound of typing. My husband, Howard, is 40, a corporate manager who has always been dedicated to his work. We've been married for 10 years and live with our 8-year-old son, Ethan, in a quiet suburban neighborhood filled with trees, laughter, and calm afternoons. From the outside, our life seems perfect: a cozy house, a good school for our son, and stable careers. Every evening, Howard and I used to sit on the balcony with cups of Turkish tea, talking about our dreams, our worries, and our plans for the future. Those moments felt endless, full of warmth and connection. But lately, something has changed. Howard comes home later each night, tired and distant. I tell myself it's just work stress. Yet deep down, I feel something slipping away. I thought love was about time spent together. I didn't know love could fade in silence. The first few years of our marriage were gentle, almost like a song that never lost its rhythm. Howard was thoughtful and kind, always bringing small joys into our home. Every Saturday, we took Ethan to the park, watching him chase pigeons and laugh until his cheeks turned red. On Sundays, we made homemade pizza together, flour on our hands, music in the background, laughter filling the kitchen. In the evenings, after Ethan went to bed, Howard and I would sit on the balcony, sipping Turkish tea under the quiet sky. He often said, "You're my calm after a long day," and I believed him completely. I loved the way he looked at me, not as a wife, but as if I were the best part of his world. Our life wasn't luxurious, but it was full of love. We saved money little by little to buy new furniture, planted flowers in the backyard, and shared dreams of traveling someday. I wrote stories at home while he worked long hours, but no matter how busy he was, he always made time for us. Then came his promotion, the one he had worked years for. At first, I was proud, thrilled even. But slowly, that success began to build a wall between us. There were more meetings, more phone calls, more nights when he said, "Don't wait for me, I'll be late." He no longer sat beside me on the balcony. The tea turned cold before he came home. He started sleeping with his laptop beside him, too tired to talk, too tired to laugh. That's when I first felt it, a quiet ache I couldn't name. A strange, hollow space between us. Our house was still full of light, but our hearts were growing darker. Over the next few months, something in our home quietly shifted. Howard became a shadow of the man I once knew. He worked late almost every night, often coming home after dinner. When he finally walked through the door, his eyes were tired, his shoulders heavy. He would eat quickly, say a few words about work, then sink into the couch to watch TV until he fell asleep. At first, I told myself it was temporary. "He's just stressed," I whispered while clearing the dishes. I made his favorite meals, waited for him at the table, asked about his day, but his answers were always the same. "I'm tired, let's talk later." But later never came. Weekends used to be our time. We'd take Ethan to the park, share stories, or cook together. Now, Howard spent Saturdays at the office and Sundays networking on the golf course. When he was home, he was still somewhere else, trapped in thoughts I couldn't reach. I started drinking tea alone on the balcony where we once shared laughter. The silence felt heavier each day, pressing against me like invisible walls. I missed him even when he was right beside me. One evening, I decided to try again. I sent Ethan to my mother's for the weekend, hoping to have just one quiet night with my husband. I cooked lamb stew, his favorite, and wore the red dress he once said made me look beautiful. I set the table carefully, lighting candles like I used to. When he walked in, I smiled softly. "Dinner's ready," I said. He glanced at the table, nodded, and sat down. He ate quietly, eyes on his phone, and when he finished, he simply said, "Thanks," before heading to his desk. He never even looked at me, not once. Something inside me cracked. I followed him to the living room, my voice trembling. "Howard, do you still love me? Or is there someone else?" He turned, surprised. "Of course I love you, Cynthia. I'm just tired. Work has been stressful. Please be patient with me." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But his eyes didn't match his words. That night, as we lay in bed, I stared into the darkness beside him. He was there, breathing softly, close enough to touch, yet he felt miles away. He was there beside me, but it felt like sleeping next to a stranger. The distance grew not through fights, but through silence. And in that silence, I began to feel invisible. The weeks that followed were filled with quiet attempts and quiet disappointments. Cynthia tried everything she could think of to bring Howard back to her. She suggested a weekend trip to the coast. He said he was too busy. She asked him to take a walk in the park after dinner. He said he had calls to make. She even suggested a movie night, just like old times. He smiled faintly and said, maybe next weekend. But next weekend never came. Every no cut a little deeper. Every glance at his glowing laptop screen made her feel smaller, less visible. One Friday evening, as the clock struck midnight and Howard still hadn't come home, Cynthia sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the family photo on the nightstand. Her reflection in the glass looked tired, defeated, like a stranger wearing her face. Without another word, she stood up and began to pack. Just a few clothes, her laptop, and Ethan's favorite toys. On the kitchen table, she left a short note, the last thing she had left to say. I need to find myself again. Please don't call until you're ready to see me. That night, she drove to her mother's house, the city lights fading behind her like memories she no longer trusted. The following days were heavy with silence. She cried when Ethan wasn't looking, wondering what she had done wrong. Was it my fault? Was I not enough? The questions circled endlessly, but no answers came. A week later, her phone buzzed. A message from Howard. I miss you both. Please come home. I want to fix this. Her heart ached. Despite everything, a part of her still loved him. Still hoped. She packed again and went home, ready to forgive, ready to rebuild. That night, while cleaning the living room, she heard a soft vibration, Howard's phone on the table. A message flashed across the screen. I miss you. Did you think about me today? Her hands froze. Her chest tightened. She didn't open it. She didn't have to. The truth was already there, sharp and undeniable. When Howard came in, she said quietly, I saw your phone. He didn't deny it. He just looked down and whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Cynthia didn't cry. She didn't scream. Her silence was louder than anger. The distance, the coldness, the excuses, they all made sense now. That night, she knew. She would not live invisible anymore. Cynthia and Ethan moved back to her mother's home, a small house surrounded by quiet gardens and old memories. The first few mornings felt strange, too still, too silent. There were no sounds of Howard getting ready for work, no coffee brewing in the kitchen. Yet, in that emptiness, there was also a strange peace she hadn't felt in years. She began writing again, just as she used to before life became about schedules, dinner tables, and unspoken words. Her stories poured out easily, as if they had been waiting inside her all along. She wrote about love, about silence, about the kind of loneliness that hides behind a smile. At night, after Ethan fell asleep, she sat by the window, looking at the dim streetlights. The world outside seemed calm, but her mind wandered back through the years, all the moments she had tried to hold onto something that was already slipping away. She realized she had built her entire world around a man who had stopped seeing her. Her worth had become tied to his presence, his attention, his approval. And when those things disappeared, she had felt like she disappeared too. But now, sitting there under the quiet night, she whispered to herself, I lost him, but maybe I can find me. Cynthia didn't hate Howard. Hate would have meant she still cared enough to fight. Instead, she pitied him, a man chasing illusions, choosing excitement over loyalty, noise over truth. And in that understanding, her heart began to soften. Not toward him, but toward herself. The pain that once consumed her was slowly turning into clarity. Sometimes, she realized, losing someone isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your peace. The months that followed were quiet but full of change. Cynthia rebuilt her life slowly, piece by piece, like a puzzle she had once forgotten how to solve. Each day brought a small victory, finishing a new story, laughing with Ethan, or simply enjoying breakfast without the heavy silence that used to hang over her mornings. She took on more writing clients and began to rediscover her passion. Her stories became deeper, more emotional, filled with truth rather than fantasy. Readers noticed. They wrote to her, saying her words felt real, comforting, like a voice that understood their pain. One particular short story, about a woman learning to love herself after being invisible for years, went viral online. One evening, while checking her messages, Cynthia saw a name she hadn't seen in months. Howard. His message was short. I read your story. It's beautiful. I'm sorry for everything. Cynthia stared at the screen for a long time. Once, that message would have broken her heart. But now, it only made her smile, a small, peaceful smile. She typed, "Thank you," and nothing more. Forgiveness had already happened inside her heart. It didn't need an apology or words. It was something she had given herself long before he asked for it. Weeks later, she met an old college friend, Lucas, at a local cafe. He admired her writing and the quiet strength in her eyes. They talked for hours about art, books, and life. She laughed, a real, unguarded laugh, and realized she hadn't done that in a long time. It wasn't love, at least not yet. It was something simpler: connection, respect, lightness. That night, as she walked home, the air felt softer. The world no longer seemed heavy. Cynthia had learned something profound, that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes, it means setting both people free. She started teaching online English classes, helping students express themselves through storytelling. Her voice, once filled with sorrow, now carried calm and warmth. She told her students, "Every story teaches us something, even the painful ones." And when someone asked her if she still thought about the past, she smiled and said, "Healing isn't forgetting. It's remembering without pain." In her heart, she no longer asked why things broke. Instead, she asked what they had taught her. One bright Saturday afternoon, Cynthia took Ethan to the park near their home. The air was soft and warm, filled with the sound of laughter and rustling leaves. They bought 2 ice creams, sat on the grass, and watched the sky turn gold as the sun began to set. Ethan leaned against her shoulder, happy and carefree, and for the first time in a long time, Cynthia felt that same lightness too. She turned to him and said softly, "Do you know something, Ethan? Sometimes love changes. But that doesn't mean it disappears. It just teaches us who we are." Ethan looked up at her, smiling without quite understanding, but she knew someday he would. That night, after tucking him into bed, Cynthia stood by the window, watching the lights of the quiet neighborhood. Her reflection looked different now, calm, steady, content. The pain she once carried had transformed into gratitude. She whispered to herself, "I used to think being alone was the worst thing. Now I know being unseen was worse." Cynthia had finally found peace. Not in a perfect marriage, but in a complete self. She no longer needed someone else to define her worth. She had walked through heartbreak and come out stronger, softer, and free. Her story was no longer about loss, it was about rediscovery. About learning that love, in all its forms, begins within. Sometimes, we become invisible in love. But if we choose self-respect over silence, we find our way back to the light. Do you believe a broken heart can still lead to a new beginning? Tell us in the comments. If you liked this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more emotional English stories.